Hi there, Dr. PK here. Today we're going to be looking at 20 sci-fi tropes that you can use as an author to help you craft some compelling storytelling. For readers, the use of tropes can really help with the appreciation and the understanding of some certain sci-fi concepts. And so in the sci-fi genre, one of the tropes that comes up over again might be like robots, right? When we think of robots and you might have the sci-fi trope where you have robots that either automate and make our lives easier. You might have the robot that can start to think and have like human emotions. That's a common trope, right? And then it allows the author to kind of like tell a story without having to continually explain a certain concept over and over again. For example, another sci-fi trope would be like the wormhole, like being able to travel these vast distances that in a regular spaceship, these vast distances in a spaceship that would take thousands of years, you could do it really quickly with like traveling at light speed or using a wormhole. Traveling over long lengths of space requires you to use cryo sleep. And so these are tropes and concepts that again help us tell a story without having to spend pages and chapters explaining all the technical elements of how something might work. And so the trope can be used as a device to kind of help the author tell the story kind of in a more efficient way, right? Other tropes that you might have that exist include like aliens, right? You might have the aliens that are helpful in trying to guide us to become better people, but then you also might have the aliens that like want to attack our world. And you might have tropes where somehow like the aliens come to our world and they want to attack our world, and it's something very basic and simple on Earth that somehow is able to thwart or stop the alien attack, something that we take for granted but the aliens are not used to. And so again, sci-fi tropes are used very, very commonly. You can see like a pretty comprehensive list. Like if you were to look like online, there's a lot of people that have tropes, sci-fi tropes that are discussed. Other sci-fi tropes might be that also fit into like subgenres. And so there's a subgenre of science fiction where it's like the cyberpunk subgenre, where you might have, they're kind of like bleak and dark looking, and they're concoctions of like leather and maybe these very like technical looking outfits rather than simply wearing jeans and t-shirts, as if like people in the future no longer wear t-shirts, right? These are science fiction tropes. You might have these psychics, people that can read minds and understand different concepts. I think we'll see it when we read The Minority Report, or watch, if you were to watch the Tom Cruise movie, like, right, these precogs, these people that have a different level of understanding, which also fits along with his other sci-fi trope, which is this notion of this consciousness, this uploaded consciousness that you could have. And what that is, it's somehow like everything that happens in our mind can be like transported or downloaded to another mind, to another body. Or you might have a consciousness, some sort of existence that you have that can be replaced with a whole nother existence, right? That's a common sci-fi trope. Another sci-fi trope includes like going along the lines with those aliens, would be that this notion that aliens um, leave remnants of themselves on our planet, and then somehow like some regular human being finds this alien artifact, and then all of a sudden they become like this powerful person or something like that. Nanotechnology, again, another sci-fi trope, is really having this technology that is super advanced, and in this case it might be nanotechnology, the use of like really small not organisms, but really small technological advancements to do different things, like whether it's to heal us or whether it's to like clothe us, like they do in Avengers or Black Panther. The fashion of the future, right, where people wear all white and they're very like crisp and clean looking, where they're like there's no germs. And we already talked about wormholes with parallel worlds. Certainly this notion of like not only our world existing, but then a whole nother dimension, right? The classic Twilight Zone. It's in the fifth dimension that exists. And so this notion of having these other worlds that exist, I think we see in the Flash. Another common sci-fi trope is the whole notion of the artificial intelligence uprising, that our technology becomes smarter than us, and then they take over us, they control us, right? So the RCC Clarke 2001 movie, Hal, I think was the name of the computer, and Hal starts to like become smarter than you and decides what to do. Or even like the Terminator movies, they're all about AI uprisings and the computers becoming better than us. Clones are often used as another sci-fi trope. Body modifications, right? So we at some point become so technologically advanced that we can replace our body parts. We can have mechanized body parts, like attach an arm that has a weapon built into it, and all kinds of crazy things with our body in the science technology. Obviously, robots is a very common trope. Mutants are very popular tropes in the sci-fi world. And often with these mutants, they'll be like misunderstood, and then somehow like they're more human than we are. Dystopian governments, another sci-fi trope, is this notion of like the government watching over us and the government becoming more powerful. And if not the government, a lot of times like some sort of military contractor, right? The military always seems to be creating these technological advancements in the future that somehow are going awry, and then the people have to rebel against that. Post-apocalyptic. Now, this also becomes in some ways almost like another subgenre unto itself. But again, going along with the dystopian government, the post-apocalyptic world, these are sci-fi tropes. Time travel is another sci-fi trope, and it's actually what makes Kindred a little bit different than other time travel sci-fi movies like the H.G. Wells stories with the time machine, or even like Back to the Future, where there's a machine involved. In Kindred, it's the story. The story kind of flips everything on its end a little bit, and it takes this trope and takes it in a different direction. I think some people argue that Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, it quote unquote breaks the mold, right? Because it's not the typical sci-fi travel where you're doing a wormhole, where somehow like it's a machine that helps you get there. The main character, Dana, doesn't know why or how it works, but it just works. And then the story is less about the time travel, but about being a slave, time traveling back in time and being stuck as a slave. And so, the story is more about humanity and how people try to control other people, and less about the technology. Again, to tell a complex story, but to simplify the ideas a little bit more, we use these tropes. This is Dr. PK, and this has been Lessons in 10 Minutes. All right, hopefully these 20 tropes have really helped you kind of understand yourself as a writer, to understand yourself as a viewer or a reader, or someone that just maybe can appreciate the science fiction genre just a little bit more. This is Dr. PK, and this has been Literature in 10 Minutes. We've got you covered.